Do you feel like buying your first home or first investment property is hard and unaffordable? In this conversation, we're going to show you the simple and smart way to get started in real estate with low risk and losing money using the house hacking strategy. This is a strategy that I use to get started, and it has helped start my journey in building wealth in real estate. And anybody that has a medium wage job can get started. Whether you're single or starting with your partner, this strategy will help. So if you're looking for creative and tangible ways to take control of your financial future, this video is for you. We're back live again in the Ownership Collective podcast, baby. Thank you for joining me again.
You're welcome. Honored to now be guest number 3.
That's right. Well, you're technically my co-host tonight.
Okay. Gotcha. I'll serve whatever role
You're the
I
co-host,
need to serve.
and I know this is a topic that we both are gonna come at it from different angles. The topic of the day is called house hacking, and I'm the one that house hacked somebody, and somebody else house hacked you.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people, might know what it is, and I guess let's just try to give some clarity in what house hacking is. And house hacking is a strategy that is a very simple way for anybody to get started in real estate. And technically what you need, obviously you need to have a job, you need to be financially stable, and you don't have to have the greatest amount of income for you to get started. Most states, you need a median wage, right? And a little bit of savings just for you to get the ball rolling. And technically all you're doing is you're buying a property, and house hacking comes in when you rent out one of the bedrooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, you're offsetting your expenses for your mortgage expenses. So your costs are going to be drastically reduced just by renting out, one of the bedrooms in the home. And that's how I got started. In real estate, moved my first home, the townhouse, before we were together. That's how I think I rented it out for about 8 or 9 months. And on your end, you did too, right? You did I think on 2 houses.
Yes, I have been house hacked, but I didn't realize I was being house hacked. Well, I mean, I guess I did, but I didn't truly understand the benefit, I think, when it was occurring. So, and we kind of joke and say that in like a negative term, but it was actually a very positive thing for me to be the recipient of house hacking. But
Yeah.
I was probably my mid-20s, and I worked at a nonprofit, and so my income was just not super high at that point. And so through our church Facebook page, I was just kind of keeping an eye out, like, is anyone looking for a roommate? And I found a girl that I didn't really know very well, or I didn't know her at all. And we met up, and she was renting out her condo, which was a 2-2. And I ended up moving in and lived there for 3 years, and it was really a great experience. Number one, she's one of my very close friends, and we had a great time living together and developed that friendship. And number two, it was something that allowed me to live in a really safe area and a nicer place than I could get on my own financially. I think I feel like she charged me $400 or $450 a month for rent, and then we split the utilities. And then on top of that, which is a whole different topic, she rented out for the furniture market twice a year in High Point. And so the months that she rented out for the furniture market, she didn't charge me at all. And so it really worked to my benefit to work with my income. And so the second one, similar situation. My previous roommate, she got married and sold the condo. And so I moved in with another friend who had a townhouse, and the same thing, I think she charged me $550. I don't know. It was a brand new townhouse, and I had a ton of space. The two of us in this 3-bedroom,
I remember that was a nice townhouse. That was a real nice townhouse too.
It was so nice. It was at that point, it was the nicest place I had ever lived. And I moved in, and I was like, this is such a blessing from the Lord that I was able to live with someone that I enjoyed and was friends with, and also got my rent that cheap.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do you
Yeah.
remember? I mean, you never ask how much your mortgage payments were?
At that point, my income was so low that I could not really even fathom buying a house at that point, which is a whole different
Yeah,
conversation. So I don't think I had any concept of even how much a mortgage was, but I do think I know that my first roommate, she bought that condo for I think 80 or $85,000, which they're probably in the 130s at this point. But I don't think it couldn't have been that much, the mortgage. I
yeah,
was paying at least half the mortgage.
yeah. Maybe even more, right? Maybe. I mean, even with the
Yeah,
utilities, yeah. Just thinking about it, that's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing.
It was huge, but it was both of those situations. I had lived in apartments, and the apartments, split the rent with a roommate. Neither of the apartments I lived in were as nice as the places I lived in that were house hacking me. And also, they were just even cheaper. I think I paid less in being house hacked than I did in splitting an apartment rent.
Yeah. So that's something great to think of is like not only you helping yourself, like the person that owns the property, but you also helping out the person that you're renting it
Yeah.
to because you don't, you helping them save a substantial amount of money in rent because
Yeah.
rental prices have increased
Mhm.
drastically the last, 4 to 5 years. And little by little, right now, I think they kind of like stabilize, but you can definitely tell that it's just progressively increasing as inflation prices go up. It's just part of, what it is, right?
It is.
So,
I
no,
need to
that's good.
apologize for my yawns again. I'm sorry. For the people to
That's
know,
okay.
it's
That's right. It's
8:45.
late. It's
It's
late. And we
8:45, so
literally, we literally just, we got a little break in setting up this and we put Ada to sleep, our baby girl. So people don't understand if you're yawning. It is okay.
I am
For
just
some
letting
reason, I got a
you
lot of energy right now.
you do.
I'm
I'm glad
excited.
you are. You are. And look, the people need to know it snowed today. I think it's still
hmm
snowing. There's probably over 12 inches of snow outside of our
I know.
door right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
What's funny now that I think of it is like we didn't explain why we're like in separate rooms.
oh yeah,
I
well, I
think
guess you're
the
trying
reason,
to we learned.
yeah, we learned it's easier to simplify just having different recording cameras because there's a lot of
Yeah.
work from having to drag this high quality camera into the other room and trying to manage the cables and the laptop. It was just too much work. So it was like, let's
Yes.
just simplify it as much as possible. And you are in your iPad and I'm in my laptop.
And
That's the reason why.
also so that you don't all the people have to look at our faces like this the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
drove me
That is so
crazy
true.
looking at that
That
one.
is
I
so true.
hated
Now
that.
we're making connection with the people which people need.
It's what the people, all the people
Yeah.
that listen to us, that's what
I
they
know, right?
want.
That is hilarious. Now, okay, I'm looking to the steps here. Now,
Okay.
do you remember? Okay, so like for me, like I chose the property or the townhouse for me, it was the location. Do you remember them telling you why they chose those areas, or they didn't really explain to you why they chose one chose a condo, right? I think it was Kinsey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They
I
didn't
don't
really explain to you why.
remember them saying why. I mean, I know my first roommate, she wanted to be in the High Point area just because there were more things, and I think she was more from a rural area. And so it
Yeah,
just enabled her to be closer to the city and what was going on.
yeah,
And then my second one, I mean, it was just a new development, and I think she was looking to purchase a home, and she liked it and made sense. I mean, there could have been more reason to it than I know of, but um,
yeah.
she purchased that one during COVID. I'm pretty sure
Right.
I moved in with her in 2020. It was October of
Okay.
2020. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I remember helping you move.
You were.
That's
You
when we
were.
started our love.
It's when I
But
knew I was gonna marry you.
that's right. We both knew it. That's right, baby.
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, okay, so they didn't really, and obviously a lot of people don't want to share their financial,
Yeah,
reasons
I
of
don't
like,
know.
oh, you don't need to know my mortgage payments. It's a weird thing to ask,
Yeah.
right?
It is. Yeah. How much of this am I paying for you?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, that's good. Okay, so um, just understanding here, do you remember that the fact of when you with Kinsey specifically, that's the first person that you moved in with.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very important topic when it comes to bringing somebody that you can trust that's going to live with you. And I think that's a fear for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to
Yeah.
fear, oh goodness, I'm going to have to share my room with, my home with somebody else. But I see it as like, hey, you're making a sacrifice for your first property
Mm-hmm.
that you know you're going to own for a very long period of time. And if you do this for like 3 to 5 years, right, you're going to have a
Yeah.
lot of equity built. You're going to have cash flow. You're going to reduce the stress of having to carry all those mortgage payments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to make the sacrifice. That's just a point in clear. You need to make the sacrifice, for anybody. So when you moved in, like, with
Mm-hmm.
the first in the condo, what were the conversation that you had with Kinsey in that period of time for her to bring you in? Did she make you sign like a lease? Did she, have restrictions like this is, you can use this area of the house? Like, what was it? Do you remember more or less what it was?
Yeah, I don't remember all the specifics. I do remember, so we didn't know each other. I saw her ad on Facebook. I messaged her. We met up, I think, at Devine in High Point, and we just
Hmm.
kind of got to know each other. And I think once she felt like I was a safe person, that
Yeah.
same night she let me come by the condo and just tour it. This is actually kind of funny. I remember, I mean, I was nervous and awkward anyway because like never met this person and we're talking about moving in with each other. It was just so strange.
Yeah.
Um, it feels even stranger talking about it now. But I got to the condo, looked around, I liked the condo, and I remember saying to her something about, yeah, I just wanted to make sure like we mutually could decide like neither one of us are crazy people. I'm not like bringing a gun or anything, and I don't know why I said that. But then she literally was like, "Oh, I got my gun." Like she'd been packing the whole time. And I'm sorry, maybe
You don't
we
know,
shouldn't.
do I feel safe? I don't know if I feel
I
safe or
know.
not. Like,
Maybe we shouldn't include that in the story. I don't know. But it was so
that's all right.
funny because I just so awkwardly just spotted that out and she was like, "Oh, nope, I got it." So that was her safety mechanism. But yeah, I don't remember she made me sign a lease. I don't think she did. I remember with Kelly
Okay.
I did the second one. But
Okay.
Kenzie's just super hospitable anyway. And the way the condo was laid out, we each had our own bathroom. We each had our own bedroom. And,
Hmm.
she made space, a cabinet space for me in the kitchen to leave my stuff. And she was much more of a sharer in the sense of, hey, use whatever is mine. I don't care.
Yeah.
Um, but, I do think, we both probably had boundaries of, I didn't go in her room. She didn't come in my room unless we were invited, that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
that one, I think we were just in a similar life stage. We were friends, mutually understood um, each other's boundaries. I don't know if we ever had a specific conversation about them,
Okay.
but I could see that that could be very helpful because I will also say this wasn't a house hacking situation, but at another roommate situation where I think we just did not, we lived very differently and we ended up parting ways early on. And that was, I think, just some difficulties in communication and drawing boundaries that probably
Mm.
could have been worked out had we talked about that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's so important. Like sending the that line, right? This is our baseline, and this is what we're gonna stick to. How from when we
Yeah.
start. And I did that
Yeah.
with a townhouse. The way that I found the person that lived with me, um, Cody. We went to the same church. Obviously, we were on community group, and he knew that I was, getting my townhouse, and I told him, I'm looking to eventually getting somebody to move in. And then he asked me, hey, I would like to move in when you get your townhouse. And to me, that was like perfect. Like, this is just a great opportunity, somebody that I trust and know. And it
Mhm.
in my mind where like, well, if I trust and I know him, we've hanged out many times. Now, my mind was like, okay, I don't need an actual agreement or contract or paper. I trust them. So I literally, all I did, I set up a time. We went out for a cup of coffee. I think we grabbed lunch or maybe a cup of coffee. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Panera Bread. We went, we sat down, and I told him, look, these are my expectations. I told them $500 a month. Okay, that's it. Literally, he was covering half of my mortgage payments just by doing that. Half of my mortgage payments. Well, and maybe just a little bit, maybe like $50 less in my mortgage payments. And told them I'm gonna give you a section, in the fridge. This is gonna be yours, right? And where are you gonna put all your food? I'm gonna give you this cabinet, this shelf space. This is all yours. And making sure that I'm not gonna step over any of your shoes. I'm gonna give you your privacy. I'm not gonna go into the room and check to see, what are you doing. Your room is your room. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in through your stuff. And I expect the
Hmm.
same. And just laying that conversation from the beginning, just make it as clear as possible, is like so vital for things to go well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah.
So obviously it worked out great for us, right?
Yeah.
But your second, house hack, it was Kelly, and she gave you an agreement.
She did, yeah. Which I
Why?
appreciate. Well, I think she is more maybe business oriented, and we knew each other. It was from the same community group that we knew each other,
Yeah,
and I guess that's just more to be official. And I'll be honest, I think if I was the one doing the house hacking, I would want an agreement signed too, just
yeah,
because I think it helps things remain clear and it helps lines remain clear.
yeah,
So if there's any question, you can just go back and say, hey, this is what we talked about, and not to be, a jerk about it. But
yeah,
at the same time, I think if two people sign off on something, and I mean, even Kelly's, it wasn't super detailed. I think it was one page. It had, a list of things, and I think it was just good for accountability, right?
yeah,
Um, and so, because like a common thing, so I've rented a lot of different houses since college. Like this is a petty thing, but garbage disposals in the sink, those break really easily. People misuse them and
yeah,
they get broken. And I remember in Kelly's agreement, there was something about, I agree to, always run water when the disposal's on or something like that, which feels silly, but at the same time, it's not something that you really just sit down and talk about, right? And so,
yeah,
hey, now we can say you've reviewed it, you've seen it, I'm aware of her expectations, and I just am such a person that believes everybody thrives and is much happier when expectations are clear and everybody knows what to do. It just helps people operate more efficiently. So,
yeah. There's something about putting a paper
mm,
and reading through that text and then signing it
yeah,
that makes it official. It's like
yeah,
a binding agreement, and
yeah,
you do it more out of respect. Not that you don't trust that person. It's like just
yeah,
make it simple for us to be on paper and for us to remember. Okay, this is what we agreed upon.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now that I think of it, like also these are for people to think of as well, that each state has different regulations about renting, so they should do their due diligence about making sure that
right,
whatever agreements they give to people are are exactly the way that the state specifies us to be, right?
right.
And you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it, but we're talking about it, and we want people to be successful when they start off. It's like it's better to be safe than sorry. Put an agreement into place from like the
Yeah,
beginning. You know,
yeah,
put that agreement. It's just gonna be
hmm,
peace of mind as you carrying on.
yeah.
In that relationship with the person that you're gonna be living with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, I don't know how in depth people would want to go, but I've been in probably four living situations that I really didn't know the person moving into that situation, which, barring one experience, all have been very positive. But I could see, there's a lot of things about living with someone that you don't know until you live with that person. And so I'm very fortunate that that has gone well, but it's not a bad idea to, kind of dig into what's your living style? Are you a
Yeah.
messy person? Are you how do you feel about people coming over? Are you good with staying up until 11 or 11 p.m. or 2 a.m.? Are you planning
Yeah.
on having parties? Are you not having parties? I mean, all of those things are good to just ask, right? I remember
Yeah.
one, not to give horror stories, but the roommate situation that wasn't great. I got home one night and she had a male family member like in his 50s was at our apartment and she wasn't there. And I was
Wow.
like, did not agree to
That's not
this,
good.
right? It
Yeah,
wasn't good. It was
exactly. That's
super
terrible.
uncomfortable. It was awful. And I
Yeah.
was so uncomfortable. So I left and just went somewhere else to a friend's house. But I just remember thinking, I need to be with somebody who's going to respect and ask what my boundaries are. They're going to be considerate of, hey, are you okay with this? And I think just clarity about those things from the outset will set you up
Hmm.
for a lot better success. So,
That is so good. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, just little things like that to think of. Yeah. That, yeah. Honestly, you experienced that. I haven't experienced something like that. And, like the friend that used to live with me in the townhouse, he brought his girlfriend. And I was okay. I was okay with that, but obviously she did not stay, and that's what I told him. It's only you're staying, and that's the way, that it's going to be.
yeah.
So he was, like that clarity. You need to have the clarity in all those little things that
Hmm.
you need to think of. Now, for most people, right? Ideally, that's what everybody wants to get started by doing that, trying
Right.
to find people that that you can trust, or by word of
Hmm.
mouth, right?
Yeah.
Look for people. Ask your friends, hey, if you cannot move in with me, do you know anybody that is a trustworthy person?
Hmm.
Search by doing that. And if you cannot do that, obviously the other things would be there's a lot of websites out there that you can find people that are looking to rent. I think there's one like roommates.com. There's a few others online if you search in Google's looking for roommates, and you type it in Google and there's going to be like a whole bunch of websites. And there is on some of them, gives you like rankings and records of people. So they kind of like more or less you have like a filter of going through the profiles of the people as well
Hmm.
with pictures and history and all that. And I think that at that point, you're gonna technically what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna have to contacting them, going through them one by one, doing like a meet and see if you both vibe well. You have
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta be honest, I think you probably would have been more willing to do that, but I
Hmm.
think I needed to meet people who I knew people could vouch for them. So, a couple
Yeah.
of them, like Kelly, I knew her from community group, I knew her from church, but Kinsey, I didn't know her, but we met in the church Facebook group. We had mutual friends on Facebook. I messaged them, hey, do you know this
Yeah.
person? What do you think we would be a good roommate match? That kind of thing. And so, um,
That's good.
yeah,
That's
I
good.
think I would highly recommend it being, word of mouth is the best recommendation you can get.
Yeah. What isn't that mean? Yeah, there's nothing better than that for
Yeah.
sure. No, that's a good point.
Uh,
At this point. And so just like as people, just I wanna just get an understanding of how people can put the numbers into mind with the costs associated. There and that's also a thing that people obviously have to put effort into when they go into buying the property.
mm,
And costs can fluctuate, right, depending of your electricity bill, and there's the water and the heater and all these things that can fluctuate with the prices. Now,
mm.
if I remember correctly, with the utilities, you say you were paying half of them with Kinsey, right?
Yes. And then with
Okay.
Kelly, I paid half, but then our friend Sarah moved in and we thirded them.
Okay. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't do that. I literally just paid for all the utility bills. So,
You're so
but
kind.
I
That's
know
you.
I was kind. I was kind, and to me, I could afford it. I
Yeah.
think I was just having somebody pay those $500 of mortgage payments. To me, that was just like I don't need to worry about the
Yeah.
utilities, and like I didn't want to give that pressure to anybody So like, oh, there's another thing I got to think of. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, just looking back, I mean, I'm glad that you did that, but if you
Mhm.
wanted to, you could have upped the rental price,
You
$100,
could have.
$150 and just
Yeah.
incorporated it, right? And it's still the townhouse that we have, you know, $650 a month for a bedroom in that thing. It's a really nice townhouse, and
Yeah.
it would have been really reasonable to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah. And I think overall, it was just a great experience just for me to reflect back because it taught me how wise it is for anybody that just starts just buying a property and you're single, right?
Mhm.
This only applies to single people. Now,
Well, I
if
mean,
you are
some married
married,
people might do it.
if you're married, you could probably buy a duplex or a triplex
Yeah.
and you rent out the other units. So yeah, you could pull it off.
Yeah.
And just seeing the power that it is, for you to own a property instead of giving that money, right, to a landlord. So you
Yeah.
making that landlord wealthier instead of
Yeah.
you putting money, for you in
Hmm.
the moment, in the present moment, and for your future.
Yeah.
And I think anybody can start if you have if you have a decent paying job, you don't have any crazy debt, right?
Hmm.
If you don't, if you're not, in debt with like credit cards or loans, car loans, that right there obviously could put you in a tough spot, right? Do you remember, as far as like them, like Kinsey and Kelly, were they going to school all the time? Do you remember that or not
No, they
necessarily?
were both, I mean, they both had degrees and were graduated, and I don't know,
Okay.
the ins and outs of their financial status, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, they both had graduated from college at
Yeah.
that point.
Okay. Got it. Got it. I mean, it is hard for some people, right? If they have a whole
Yeah.
bunch of loans, there's obviously ways that you can figure out, okay, maybe asking parents, to help you out, just get started,
Yes.
right? If
Yeah.
you have your parents that can help you
Yeah.
do that, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and I would say too, so when Kinsey was selling her condo, and so I had to move out, I considered buying it because I mean, I really loved that little
Mm.
condo and it was in a great spot. And, had considered should I do the house hacking thing, even though I didn't quite, I mean, I understood it, but I didn't really understand the power of it fully until I married you. But
Yeah.
I, I really it would have been very difficult for me to purchase it. I went through the whole pre-approval and things like
Yeah.
that. And it wasn't a super high cost condo, but with
Mm.
my income level at that time, I would have really been busting at the seams to pay it.
Yeah.
And having a roommate would have helped. Yeah, I think for me at that time, I was fearful of being dependent on a roommate. And I still would probably caution someone against that, be able to pay it on your own, even if
Yeah.
it is tight, and then enjoy the benefit of someone paying it down for you. But, I know for me at that time, it was just going to be real tight. Now, had I known the future that we were going to, get married quickly, I probably would have bought it because it would have been a great property to keep and
It
rent
would
and
have
do
been a
all of
great
that.
investment property, but it's just thinking about it, but
But
it's okay.
yeah, but I think at the time, though, I mean, truly at the time, my income was just it was not going to accommodate
Yeah.
that. And it was going to be more stress than it was worth. And I was able to then move in with Kelly and be
Yeah.
at a rental rate that I felt good about and could afford.
Yeah.
And, it was the right call. But I think at that time, it was one of those where I'm like, this opportunity is like right here. But also, I have to be realistic about my finances that I didn't have any debt. I had a car payment. But yeah, other than that, I had no debt. And my car payment was maybe $200 a month. And it just wasn't going to work out for me to be able to do it.
Yeah. It wasn't
So,
just it wasn't the right period of time for you to even consider
mm,
it, just in general.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, and I'm thinking right now also on the, like for me, also if you're actually buying the property, right? You also
mhm.
got to think of things that can go wrong with like,
Yeah.
things for maintenance of the property. Things are going to
Mhm.
break, So
Yeah.
you also had to think about those expenses that are going to come up.
Yeah.
And it's any home, doesn't matter what age,
Yeah.
something's going to break eventually. So that's a
Right. Yeah.
thing that you have to think of as well before you even purchase a property. Yeah.
Yeah. But I
That,
think
yeah.
that's the great thing about purchasing a condo or a townhouse,
Yeah.
that those are pure gold because even the townhouse, they even do the yard work. And so
Yeah.
you don't have to think about the outside maintenance. You know, now we live in a standalone home, and I don't think we realized how painful maintenance was going to be just because it's not our forte to do yard work and do all of that. And so to have a
Yeah.
condo or to have that, where the external is covered, there's a shield there in the fact that only so much could go wrong that you would
Yeah.
have to cover. Now, I mean, things happen, you need a new refrigerator. I remember our AC went out one time, but for the most part, I think there's a lot of help in that. Now that comes with probably higher HOA fees sometimes, but at the end of the day, I think that's worth it to not be hit
It's
with
worth
this
it. It's
huge.
just worth it for the
Yeah.
peace of mind, And if you're just starting out, you want to reduce the amount of money that can go wrong from just having to do major expenses,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that we know that if you buy a small little townhouse or two or a small little condo, they're usually going to be cheaper, obviously depending on the area, right?
Hmm.
But they're just so much easier to get in than a 3-bedroom house or a 4-bedroom house, right? It's
Yeah.
just an easy gateway, an easy start. Do you think? What do you think? Do you think anybody getting started in real estate, that should be a good gateway just to get the ball rolling?
I think it's one possible gateway. I don't think it's something you have to do. I think it's a creative way to get into it if it's something that you want to do and you're in the right stage of life. I mean, I definitely
That's good.
don't think, like, for right now, we're not going to house hack. We're married, we have a child.
Yeah.
Like, our home is not set up for that. Now, if we had a basement apartment, maybe we would do that. But, I think it really is dependent on your stage of life. And also,
Yeah.
I think how willing are you to make a sacrifice to do it? If you want to do it, but you're unwilling to be a good roommate, then you probably shouldn't do it because that's just going to be miserable for everybody.
Yeah.
And I have some friends who could house hack just, financially, they could make it work, but they want to live by themselves. And if that's where you are, then that's sorry, there's a lamp right here and it almost just fell over. Um, so anyway, if that's where you are, then
Good
that's
catch.
fine. Thank you. We didn't get a shattering lamp. I don't know why that happened. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
I think it's an option if you want to get into it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it has to be. If you have the capital to not do it, why do it? But if you,
Yeah. We're talking about the population, that is, I'm not talking
yeah,
about, like if you're in, in the 1% that have all the money, obviously you could do whatever you want. But I'm talking about like, people, in the middle class, you're starting out, right? You have, some resources, right? You have some good income, a
yeah,
decent income, right?
yeah,
We're talking about, these people,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
yeah,
I
no,
think it's
that's good.
great.
Yeah, that's good. Cool deal.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about these are the, questions that people might think of, right? Like, okay, so here's a good question. Like, like what are things that we need to prepare just in case things go wrong, right?
Mhm.
And they just go to a few questions that we can help people think through that they might be asking themselves, things that can go wrong. A good one is, what if my roommate doesn't pay the rent, right?
Yeah.
Me looking at it from my perspective, that would have happened to me. There'd be two things: sitting down with this person for whatever reason, because you don't know what they might be going through financially, right? This is what I would do if this happens. And that's obviously part of the thing that should be in the agreement.
Hmm.
If it is in the agreement where it should be clarified, right? If you don't pay rent in more than 2 weeks, okay, after those 2 weeks that you haven't paid the rent, there's going to have to be some extra fees for late payment.
Right.
That's one. If you make that clear in the agreement, and if you didn't have the agreement, there's nothing that you can do at that point,
Right.
right?
Right.
And at that point, if the person refuses to pay you, you obviously at that point you have to go through a due process, by going to the courts, by going. I'm guessing you go to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office will take you to the court or whatever. You have to follow those due processes.
Yeah.
That's what my perspective and my mind goes to the right steps. Am I missing something?
Not that I know of. I mean, I don't know all the legal proceeding parts of that, but I think, like you said, that's where that agreement comes into play. Have the steps written out. You have this amount of time to pay the rent. If it's not by
Yeah.
this is the steps and process that we're going to follow. And, I think always, we can exercise grace in the sense of, hey, let me go talk to this person. Like, hey, I noticed you haven't paid your rent. What's going on? Is there any way we can resolve this? Or what can we do to resolve this? Obviously being compassionate in that, because you
Yeah.
said you don't know what's going on. But at the end of the day, I think it's being clear and knowing. I think you have to, as the house hacker, know your process. Hope it doesn't ever happen to you, but if it does, you are prepared and know what steps you need to take. And
Yeah.
that's what I would think.
That's good. That's so important just to think of. That's one of the most important questions, just to before you even start, to have a game plan in case that happens, because you never know.
Yeah.
It might be a trustworthy person, and for whatever reason, something happens that they stop paying, and then you have to sit with, having to deal with that and being stressed about, and you want to try to avoid that, from the get-go,
Yeah,
try to avoid
absolutely.
that as soon as possible, because that's, and it happens. These things can happen. It's just be prepared.
Right. But, I think be prepared, but also going back to choose wisely in the beginning. Don't just live with anybody. Vet the source, talk about those things, be clear about what you expect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I think safeguard yourself that you can pay the mortgage if they don't pay you, so that you're not in a double issue there where they haven't paid and also now you can't pay.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really good.
Mhm.
One other question here, just to think of, and what if you're house hacking for a few years and you feel like you're tired of it,
Yeah.
right? Like you want to move out, right? That's another step that a lot of people might ask themselves. Well, this is where you got the property. You got the property as an investment. My first personal, conviction, just because I've learned and seen what owning that townhouse has done for us. It cash flows really well. It has been a big blessing to us. The reason why we bought it is because we knew it was going to be an investment long term, and we never planned to sell it. And that's why I said, go in with this mindset of like, you're going to buy to cash flow. And this is me. The first option will be put it as a rental, leave it as a rental. And if you don't want to do the managing side of it, you can go ahead and look for a property manager to take care of the property for you. Right?
Yeah.
And that'd be the first option. The second option would be sell it, right?
Yeah.
You build equity, hopefully you build equity, and you end up selling it, put it on the market, and decide what do you want to do after. What are your thoughts about that? Is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I don't think so. I understood your initial question in a different way. I thought you meant, like, what if you have someone living with you and you decide you don't want to do that anymore? But I don't think that's what you meant. Is that?
Yeah, no, I was saying if you don't want to deal with it, but obviously that's part of the agreement, because when you sign an agreement, you said this for a specific period of time. But obviously we didn't touch it in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, just make sure I understand. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like you covered it pretty well on the things that you can do, either sell it or rent it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. What other questions do you think, the people have, like I need to be prepared just in any case? It could be on the person that's getting house hacked or the person that's house hacking?
Yeah. Well, I think overall it's a really great tool for some people. Like we said, it's not
Hmm.
for everyone, but I think it can be a huge blessing for the person who owns the property and also for the person renting if you can, make sure you have those agreements settled and living situations and living styles settled. I think that's a really great thing. I think it's just mainly making sure, you're financially able to take care of the property,
Yeah.
whether you have a roommate or not, but then also enjoy the benefits of it when you do have a roommate. Um, but otherwise, I feel like we really covered it. I mean, I can't say enough how much of a blessing it was to me to be in the right situations with it. And
Yeah.
so, and again, I think it's very limited to probably a specific subset of the population where it comes to you're single or you're more willing to share space. I feel like the older I get, the less willing I would be to share space. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah, we want our
also have,
privacy the older that we get, because we
yeah,
mature,
right.
it's just different different times in our lives that as we progress,
Yeah.
we're gonna want to have our independence and privacy. And trust me, like I was actually the opposite side before I started house hacking. I've lived, by myself for years and years.
Yeah.
But when I knew what I needed to do for me to get started, I was like, I'm just gonna make the sacrifice
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a few years.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you did because again, I think about how now we have this home, but then we also own the townhouse, and that's not something I would have naturally jumped in on myself because it felt so risky. But
Yeah,
it really wasn't risky. You knew what you were doing, and then you were willing to make that sacrifice initially, and that really helped us a lot. And I think it was a great catalyst for future investing in that,
yeah,
And so, and I think with investing too, everything is it's the long game, right? And so you
yeah,
make the short-term sacrifice. I'm going to choose to put my money here rather than into an immediate gratification type thing. And with house hacking, it's can I, either A, enjoy the benefits of having a roommate and not being alone, or, can I sacrifice my alone time and enjoy the benefits of it down the road?
that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was good, baby. Yeah, I definitely, think that we covered a lot. And I was just going through through the list. There could be a lot of, details that can go into it more depth. Like, there's numbers, like trying to figure
Yeah.
out your numbers. And obviously there's a lot of calculators. I don't think we need to go through that extreme level
Yeah.
of just dissecting this conversation. I think it's just more of like a
Yeah.
general way for people to like, okay, this is just a push, because it's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard out there, for people to buy properties. But if you do it this way, I mean, it's easier just to
Yeah.
just to get started. If you're waiting, knowing that you have the income for it, right? And you want to buy a big house. Oh no, I want a 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. And you just, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait maybe 5, 10 years. What's gonna happen? Property prices are gonna continue to go up. If you go in history, like the prices just continue. Yes, there might be a little dips in there, but the prices of the houses just continue to go up. And the longer that you wait, the harder it's gonna get for you. It's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
get. So unless
That
you
is
increase at a high income, if you have a high income,
right.
obviously at that point,
Yeah.
yeah, you
It's a
could you could do
different
whatever you want
story.
at that point. It's a different
Yeah.
story. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
but but just getting I would say just getting your feet wet. House
Yeah.
hacking is the easiest way to getting your feet wet and seeing, and it's a good thing of seeing what benefits it is just for you to learn and understand what home ownership is like. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be a scary thing, but I think if you're willing to do the hard work of being clear about expectations up front and kind of setting those things in writing, like we talked
Yeah.
about, it can be a really positive and life-giving experience. And so, research how to be clear with your expectations, read about what other people's expectations have been when they've had someone move in with them.
Yeah.
talk to people who've done it to understand, these are the things I need to talk about, and, have yourself prepared. And I think can really set yourself up for a great situation.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up, but it caps it off. I think we did great in just, giving that tool for people to, think of.
Yeah.
And if you guys need help, just reach out to us. We'll be glad to help. And I think it is the support that, that you need, right? Having that guidance. And this is why we're building the community here with the Ownership Collective, because we want to help people. First of all, trust that you don't need to do this alone. Ask people. And obviously, this is part of like why we started this podcast and just making a community, because we want to help people get started and not feel like they need to be alone. It could be a hard journey. And I did it by myself for a very long period of time. And I feel like I wasted a lot of time because I didn't have somebody helping me step by step. So, thank you for being my co-host, my love. You're the best. Thank you.
Yeah.
This was fun, you just flow natural, and I love you. You're the best. Thank you for doing this again with me. And will be the last time. We got more conversations that
There
we
you
could talk
go.
about.
There you go. I'm sorry about my yawns, and I'm sorry about the lamp incident, but
It's okay. It's
it's all
okay.
good.
We made it
Yeah.
work. We made it work, and we're providing
Yes.
value. That's what matters. We're helping people out.
Absolutely. You want to go make some snow cream?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
down for
I'm
that.
gonna go
Let's go
get
have fun.
snow. I'm gonna go get snow. All
Alrighty,
right.
everybody.
All
Alrighty.
right.
We'll see you in the
Bye.
next one, guys. Bye.